Welcome to the third and final part of the Snorkeling Beluga Game of Thrones Season 7 Podpod. Today with me I have Mamadou, Josh, Jean-Pierre, and myself, Carl. And with that, let's dive right into the first topic at hand. I'd like to talk about the Lannisters. Mamadou, let me know what you thought about the Lannisters as a whole this season.
Well, one of them is a complete and total evil bitch. We obviously know that we're talking about Cersei here. She is, I don't want to say crazy. I think she's actually very rational. She always has a plan for what she's trying to do, which is awesome. But just to see how far she's gone into her, I guess, path to like almost like true evil is kind of astonishing. I'm not ready for it yet. And I'm also not surprised that she's gonna try to backstab the entire group when they try to fight the White Walkers. I totally saw that one coming. I was expecting her to be like, "Fuck you guys, I'm doing my own thing."
Right, that was like
I'm
completely out of
surprised.
character for her to actually accept an agreement.
Not necessarily out of character because she does have plans like to backstab him, and she's probably plotting away anyways. But it was just more surprising than like out of character. I can totally see an inner character to do that though.
Well, no, what I mean is it was surprising for me that when she first accepted it, there was almost no caveat, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, wait,
no
what?
way. Yep. When that scene happened, there's just no hope for Tyrion. This is the person who hates him in all of Westeros. He's dead.
Yup. Especially since they did that scene again with Jamie. So they let Tyrion live. Jamie's dead. But no, she let both of them live.
Yeah, she did. If anything, I would have been more surprised if Jamie died because she loves Jamie and she hates Tyrion. If willing to kill Jamie and not kill Tyrion, it's weird. I was sure that she would live, but at the same time, she also said she nodded her head to kill for the mountain to kill Jamie, and I was like, holy shiznit.
To piggyback along with something that you mentioned earlier, where you are talking about Tyrion and Cersei having the talk, a lot of people actually thought that Tyrion made a deal to convince Cersei to accept the deal. And a lot of people think that the deal was for Tyrion to let Cersei's baby become the heir to Daenerys' throne, and that's why he looked so concerned when Jon Snow and Daenerys, pushing the uglies together.
Well,
So,
I have a question about that. So, do
sure.
you guys think that Cersei's actually telling the truth about her pregnancy?
At first, when she said it, I didn't think so, but I feel that they're dragging on the lie too far that I don't think it's a lie anymore.
Okay,
And
because
that'd be kind of crazy for her too, like to lie to Jamie like that.
I
Know.
thought that she would do that. I really thought that she was just BSing about the baby.
yeah, I feel like because she sees that everything's going against her, one way to ensure that she lives is to say that she has a child on the way, because no one's going to want to kill an unborn baby in this world. Like Jaime wants to protect that baby because it's his, and Tyrion, he told Cersei that he loved all of her children except Joffrey. It helps ensure her survival with both of her brothers, so they don't
Right.
turn on her if she tells them that she's pregnant.
I think though the good thing is thanks to the pacing of the show, by the time next season starts, her baby will probably be graduating college. So we'll know for sure.
Oh, dude, you'll be an old man by next season, dude. Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't really believe that Tyrion would actually do that because, again, Tyrion knows how she works behind the scenes and how she likes to manipulate people. I mean, Tyrion could advise her child, but again, it's Cersei's child. But I mean, who knows if that child might end up like Joffrey?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. It's like out of her three children, only one of them really turned out messed up. Tommen was upstanding young man, except for the fact that he was molded easily. If he had a good counsel around him, he would have been a pretty okay king.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because like he was a pushover and easily molded. If he had Ned Stark being his hand, then he would be an excellent person of character. But because he was in the middle of the Game of Thrones, stuff happened and he's dead now.
Again, like that's Cersei's last child. Like she's gonna stick on him like white on rice, or stick on him or her. But she's not gonna let that child like go anywhere without being by that child's side.
And this goes along with the next thing I was going to bring up, is that most people actually don't think that Cersei's child is going to make it if, in fact, she is pregnant. Because at the very beginning of one of the seasons, I forgot which one, you see a young Cersei talking to Maggie the Frog, who's that witch in the swamp, and she mentions that Cersei will only have 3 children, and Robert will have 20. Cersei's already had 3 children, and so far all of Maggie the Frog's predictions have been correct. I mean, so far she's basically 100% win rate. Do you think that this prediction is true?
I mean, yeah, given her track record, I'd say so. But then again, it's the show writers might just forget about that and do whatever.
What is her track record?
So far, everything she said has been true. I can't pull up exactly what she said, but she's the old Nan for Cersei, whereas old Nan, the old lady that talked to Bran in season 1, everything she said has been true about the children of the forest, about the giants, about everything.
The lady talking to Cersei said, what I remember specifically is that you'll have 3 children and they will die. And I think she said something about being killed by someone you love or by your lover or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Foreshadowing Jaime killing her.
Yup. So far in Game of Thrones, all of the predictions have basically been right. All the visions have been correct. It's just that if they're not correct, it's because the person interpreted them wrong. Moving on to a different Lannister sibling, Jaime, what do you think was in Jaime's mind when he was in the throne room with Cersei and when he finally got the veil removed from his eyes, rose-tinted goggles out, and he saw Cersei for what she is?
I feel like he already knew, but he still had hope that she might have changed. But again, he was proven wrong. So I feel like he's officially given up on Cersei.
Right. And I don't want to tread too much on this because I know we already talked about it earlier. What do you think Jaime's gonna do moving forward? He's obviously going north. Do you think he's gonna go to the Wall or to Winterfell?
I'm not really sure, but the one thing I am sure of is that Jaime, being the military mind he is, probably going to do the best thing for the military. Whether that be the Wall or Winterfell. Firstly, they also don't even know that the Wall's been,
I also forgot about Dragonstone. That could be another option.
I'm trying to think, would be the most defensible spot? The Wall would have been that spot, but the Wall's already fallen. So they can either try to, go to the Wall and turn the tide of the White Walkers, but considering how many they are and how wide that the entire North is, realistically speaking, they might just try to say give up the North and hold the middle part of Westeros, so that way the White Walkers have to go into a funnel. But even then, they have to fight against a dragon, so I have no clue where he's gonna go. It's gonna be kind of hard to make a good judgment call.
Yeah, so I personally think he's going to Dragonstone just because I think the first place that he would want to go to would be to see his brother. And that's where Tyrion is with Daenerys and Dragonstone. At least I'm pretty sure that's where their boats are going to. I don't want this to turn into a Wall conversation just yet, but what do you think would happen when Jaime would finally meet Bran for the first time after Bran got pushed in the Wall from the tower in season 1?
I don't know, because Bran would know, and Bran would probably say something. That'd just be such an awkward conversation. And I like Jaime so much now, but how is he gonna live up to that? It's just I don't understand how the interaction will go down. I can't fathom
Yeah. So, do you think Bran will forgive him? I personally think yes, just because he's not Bran anymore. He doesn't associate as Bran. He's now mostly the three-eyed raven. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's so neutral now, and he doesn't feel emotions. Everything is just logic for him. He basically turned into Data from Star Trek.
Yeah, basically what happened happens, and he's just watching the flow of time. So I don't think he'll really care too much.
He might make a snide comment I move on past the time you were an ass or something like that. I feel like that's probably the extent of it. He'll just make a sniper remark and move past it. But I kind of want to see some sass, but I don't expect it to happen that much though.
Now, if Arya or Sansa find out, then there's
yeah.
gonna be some issues.
Especially Arya. Actually, both of them have a lot of power. It's kind of nasty.
Without Jaime pushing Bran off the tower, he would never have been the three-eyed crow. Remember when Bloodraven told Bran that the ink is dry? All the events that have happened are supposed to happen, and you can't change it no matter what. People think that Bran changed time, but actually he was supposed to have done that. What do you think of the notion that their destinies are basically solidified and their fate is determined?
Oh man, that's a lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah, there is a certain manga that talks about fate and all that stuff.
Steins Gate.
Berserk?
Berserk, exactly.
Oh fuck.
I don't know, dude. Repeat the question, because that was so much to take in.
Well, basically, I'm asking what you think about the notion that time is set in stone. It can't be changed.
I think that's a scary notion, because if Bran can see into the future, and if he could see what the outcome is of all this that's happening, and then all the things that everyone else does would end up becoming nothing, then I don't know, dude. He has that power, but would he be able to help them out by telling him what's going to happen next, or is he just going to let everything pass through and just watch everything crash and burn? Or maybe hope would be restored to all of Westeros. I don't know.
Right, and so I'm just gonna reel this back into our original topic of the Lannisters and bring it back to Cersei. So if you guys remember, Cersei brought Euron to get the Golden Company from Essos. What do you think she's gonna do with the Golden Company if they're not even gonna be fighting the White Walkers?
Yeah, they're gonna be holding the south of Westeros. Like, I feel like they're just gonna wait. Once the whole White Walker situation is over, they're going to kill Jon and Daenerys, and that's it.
So do you think Cersei has a good idea of who will win between the White Walkers and Daenerys' camp?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because like, if the White Walkers win, then she's just super fucked.
Yeah, because now they have 3 undead dragons.
I feel like
Oh God.
for her, she's just like, I don't care about anybody else. I'm just gonna focus on me. I don't think she
Yeah.
cares about what happens in the North, as long as she's protected.
Well, what I'm
or
trying to
as long
say
as
is, either way, this is a lose-lose situation for her.
It
It
is.
is. It is, but I think for her, her idea behind it all is just she wants to come out on top in the end, or she wants to be, she wants to be the last one remaining.
But it's just
basically.
reckless for her.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is just
Pretty
what
bad.
one of the quotes in season 1. I forget who said it. She's basically becoming the King of Ashes. Everything's
Sounds
burned
about
out.
right.
Yeah, there's nothing to rule, but as long as she was on top at the end, even for a second, she's fine.
It just makes me so sad because like what's one way to think about it is like you're gonna take an L. If you don't
Well-
help the North and White Walkers win, that's a huge L.
Well-
Versus you beat the White Walkers, but you don't remain the queen. It's like, all right, well that sucks, but you're still alive, and humanity's still doing stuff. But hey, man, do you right?
Well, for her, I think she's taken a lot of L's, especially when all her kids died. So I think like it's all or nothing at this point.
She's not thinking rational anymore. It's almost that she's just being desperate and she's just being really pouty. She just wants a W, even if it's just a lowercase W.
Lowercase subscript W, dude. Like,
Yeah, lowercase 9-point font.
yep,
All right,
subscript.
let's move this to the bigger topic at hand. Let's talk about the Night King and the Wall. First, let's talk about who the Night King is. Who do you think the Night King is?
I have no idea who the Night King is. We had that whole theory we talked about earlier, and like a couple parts ago about Bran possibly being the Night King, but as of right now, I don't believe that theory. I just kind of think he's just a guy. He's just an old ancient entity that rose up and is wrecking shit, just trying to destroy men, which is what he was made for.
Right, because he doesn't have any backstory really other than that one short scene where you see him get stabbed. I kind of really like this kind of villain because as soon as you get the backstory of a villain, you remove all the mystery inferred when you didn't know him earlier.
Honestly, he can't be a crow. Maybe a wildling, but like even then, like he came way before any of the houses or any of the groups that are in Game of Thrones as they are now. He came before any of that happened. This is thousands of years. He's one of the first men. So he could honestly be he could just be a random first man, honestly. That's kind of what I think, but since he was the first White Walker, that's why he has so much power. But he could be anything. I honestly don't think he's related to any of the groups as they are now in Westeros.
You're actually absolutely right. I forgot that he was actually made in between the pact being made with the Children of the Forest. What's weird is, and I don't think they touch on this too much in the show, is that the White Walkers were actually created
Defense of the Children of the Forest.
No, they were created after the peace treaty was made with the Children of the Forest and the First Men. So there was a pact that was created in the Isle of Faces in the God's Eye, and the God's Eye is where like a lot of weirwood trees are. And once the pact there was created, I don't know how many years later, but the White Walkers started showing up. So people are wondering why they were created in the first place.
Like Mamadou said, he could be anyone. He could be a wildling, or it could be like any of the first men. But I kind of felt like he was Bran, I mean. But again, like that's just a theory. And yeah, it showed in the clip that Bran was like holding tightly as that man was being punctured with that dragon glass. But again, like he could be anyone. He could just be he could be any random person who just wants to fuck up the whole world.
What if the White Walkers were made from like a rogue faction of the Children of the Forest? Like they made the peace treaty, kind of like what's his name?
Oh,
Koba in the Planet of the Apes movies where like they had a piece, but he kept like instigating shit and ended up blowing up in their faces.
See, I like that idea that there is a rogue faction. The main, I guess, wrench to that idea is just the fact that children of the forest are known to have more of a hive mind because of the fact that they connect with the weirwood trees and they're all they're all in this weirwood network. But I really do like that idea that somehow maybe a small faction of them broke off because the war between the children of the forest and men was really bloody. And it's really hard for me to believe that all of a sudden they all just was okay with the peace.
I have another question, is that, are we 100% sure that the Night King was made after or during the pact or right before the pact?
So
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm basing this off the books, and in the books he was 100% made after the pact.
Okay.
But in the show they made it really vague. Another thing that's confusing is they named him the Night King. And in the book, there's already a character called the Night's King, but the Night's King is a different character because he was a he was a Night's Watch commander that fell to the dark side because he fell in love with what many people presume to be a White Walker. And basically what happened was Brandon the Breaker, who was a Stark, had to team up with Jorman, who was the king beyond the wall at the time. So Stark and Wildling King had to team up to fight the Night's King. And you don't even know the Night's King's name because Brandon removed his records from the books, and as a result, some people think that the Night's King was a Stark. Because you know how there should always be a Stark on the wall? They think it was him. But they don't expand on that in the show.
How did the Night's King fall in love with a White Walker? Like, what?
I don't know, man. I mean,
love
like,
is love.
What attracted him to
yeah,
fall
Josh,
in love with
love
the
is
Night-
love,
man.
all right?
Tits and ass.
Love is love. It's like 275 AC.
Get with
Bullshit.
it, man.
Some people think it was a White Walker. Some people think she was just one of the northern tribes or something. But her description definitely sounds like a White Walker.
I mean, skin white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. Yep, that's
did you
sounds
read
like a
it?
White Walker. I'm looking at it on basically the book series on Wikipedia is what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. All right. So going back to the Night King, it's pretty clear to me, at least, that after the season 7 finale, he planned everything. The dragon coming. I really don't know how. Like, I guess he's a green seer also.
Snap.
Do you think he planned it, Josh?
See, this goes back onto that theory that Bran is actually the Night King.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of don't want to believe it, but like points like this, just like it goes back to that theory. He is basically the Great Seer if he knows what's gonna happen next. Like if he planned that Daenerys was gonna bring all of her dragons, he was gonna be able to kill one of them and be able to take control over one.
I mean, to be fair, like he didn't have to necessarily plan. He could have been like, "Oh, nice, there's a dead dragon. Let me just bring it on my side."
But
like he
see
didn't have to
now,
plan that.
see now the thing is during that battle scene, like that guy did not seem phased at all. Like once he saw the dragon, he just knew what to do next. Like he grabbed that spear. He just grabbed that spear and just like started aiming.
Did we talk about the number of spears last?
No, expand on that, actually.
Someone posted. It was on Reddit. I think it was in.
Are you okay?
It was in the Free Folk subreddit, and they showed that only 3 of the White Walkers had spears, and the other 2 or the other 1 had a sword. So there were only 3 spears, and there's 3 dragons. So it's like they knew that the dragons were going to come. They knew that there were only 3 dragons.
Yeah. Also, another evidence that supports that is the fact that he had chains on hand. You don't just have chains there.
Well, I feel like that was just bad writing.
The chains could have been taken from Hardhome. Hardhome was a port city. So he could have planned it, which is another big supporting evidence for that, is the fact that Hardhome was, I believe, on the other side, and the chains are somehow there. So he planned this whole thing.
Well, maybe there was time in between the dragon dying and them getting the chains to pull it up.
Could be, too, because of the pacing, we never know. It could have been a year later.
Also, I feel like that scene, okay, so the whole scene where they show Viserion like awaken again, I feel like if you took that out, the very last scene of the season would have had a lot more impact, because they wouldn't have shown what happened to the dragon, and then you see like Tormund and whoever else on the wall, and you just hear the dragon, and then you're like, oh, that's what happened to it. Oh my god, Night King has a freaking dragon. And he just comes out the shadows, out the mist, riding his dragon. The first time you see the undead dragon, that would have been really hype. But
See, for me, I
Surprise!
can see why they put it in because you got to hype up the last episode, and that was the last scene in in episode 6. So from just a hype standpoint, I can see why they did that. And also, I think it's a cool scene that was foreshadowed earlier. If you remember when Drogon was, being all nice to Jon, they did a really cool close-up with Drogon's eyes and everything. And then they did the same thing for Viserion, but this time it was blue. I thought that was a really cool parallel.
yeah, it was very interesting.
Alright, so since you brought up dragons, let's talk about Viserion, and Viserion as the Night King's mount. Do you think that Viserion is being powered up by the Night King? If Viserion wasn't an undead, would he still have been able to take down the wall with his flames?
Oh yeah, definitely. He's a goddamn dragon, dude. Like, have you seen the size? Have you seen the size of him? Like,
Firewood!
yeah, he's the amount of firepower that those dragons had. That definitely could take down a wall as easy as that.
And they
And
literally put some people to ashes like
Yeah.
instantly.
Like,
They're pretty fucking strong.
yeah, like they just turned into freaking dust.
So
Like
you don't
in 1
think,
second.
You don't think that Viserion now is shooting a super-powered form of Dragonfire? It's just still normal
Nah.
Dragonfire?
Yeah, I still think it's normal Dragonfire. If the Night King is that busted, then there's definitely no hope for Westeros. But
Yeah.
again, I don't know how the power scale is for dragons in Game of Thrones. I feel like that's just the typical power level of a dragon. So
My thing is like though, he's a dragon and he's shooting out fire, so then fire can't be his weakness, right? How the heck do you kill him?
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
You like just
Like he should
tie
be
him down.
dying
and-
from the inside or something. Like that doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
dude, he's like
Yeah,
me!
for real.
I'm...
Life is so hard, man.
well, I think the only way to kill that dragon is if you kill the source, right? So you gotta go for the Night King himself.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Once he's dead, then the dragon's gonna be
He's like
double dead.
Yeah, he's like the Hive Queen, like StarCraft 2. If you kill that, then the whole swarm will die,
Yeah,
or they'll
so,
become
That's
mindless.
so tough. Like you gotta dodge a giant dragon and get to the little dude on top of him.
Yeah.
I personally think, though, that he is powered up, and just from a cinematic standpoint, because next season he's gonna have to fight 2 dragons. If he was just a normal dragon, then it's not a really fair fight, 1v2. But if he's a superpowered dragon, then it's a fight, because then it's Drogon and Rhaegal versus superpowered Viserion.
What I think is gonna happen is like they're not gonna want to fight Viserion because they're not gonna understand that something's wrong, and so Viserion's gonna get the drop on one of them, kill one of them instantly, and that's gonna be a one-on-one dragon fight.
Wait,
I don't think that's gonna happen, just because Jon Snow has the right Rhaegal. Like, it has to happen.
yeah, I was gonna say like Jon Snow's gonna, because you saw how Drogon interacted with Jon Snow. I feel like Daenerys is gonna be like, "Yo, take Drogon, fight."
No, he needs to write Rhaegal, because Rhaegal's his dad.
Oh wait, is that how it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Rhaegar's his dad, so the dragon Rhaegal, like, it's poetic, Josh. We're making poetry here.
Because that one scene with him and Drogon connecting just like that, I feel like Daenerys is gonna she's gonna rent him out to him or something.
Rent him out.
Rent him out. Put him on a lease.
But yeah, going back to like what Jeff said in part 1 of this podcast, I also do feel like the whole wall falling down was the end point that they knew they were getting to, and everything else was kind of engineered to get them to that point. They needed some giant magical force that could destroy the wall, and dragon fire can melt ice, so they needed the undead dragon. And so because of that, they had to go north of the wall, and the dragon had to die, and John and Danny had to get along, and all this blah blah blah, and it all just led up to the wall falling down.
No,
Kind of like a Zack
I
Snyder
agree.
movie.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah.
During that whole with Tormund and who's the other guy?
Beric Dondarrion.
Yeah, that guy. As they were like running, trying to get away from the wall, were they able to even send out a raven to let all of Westeros know that they're fucked?
So I think that Tormund blowing the horn, he blew it so hard that actually everyone heard.
I mean, I hope so, because like they had very little time. You're like, la-di-da-di-da. Oh, hey, it's a White Walker. Oh my God, it's a White Walker dragon. Oh, now I'm dead. Like they had, it was like that. Of course, pacing of the show might, say other. Maybe it took like 30 minutes for that shit to fall down, but from what it looked like that was like literally like less than a minute from White Walker showing up to shit falling down. Like I don't think there's no time
Nah, dude, I believe in Tormund's ability to parkour.
to
He
survive.
he parkoured all
It's
the
gonna
ice.
be like Legolas
that
in the Hobbit,
Yeah.
the Hobbit movie,
well,
fucking walking on falling blocks.
there's no way that they're gonna kill Tormund or Beric off screen. That's not how TV shows like these work. They need to have
Game of
their
Thrones,
moment. They need to have their moment. You can't just kill characters off screen. That's disrespectful.
I feel like it wouldn't be off screen. They definitely show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's true. Okay, I can figure that. Obviously, like they can die, but like dying off screen is like,
Yeah, especially not
Then
for
leave a lot of questions.
characters as big as them. Especially Tormund, who has like a huge fan base right now.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
he
want
need-
him and Brienne.
Yeah, me too, dude.
I
Yeah, he
ship
needs
it.
to live to make bear babies.
I feel like Bran wants Jamie though, so I don't know. He has to fight against Jamie.
Yeah, but
He'll win. Jamie's got a golden hand, man.
He has two good hands.
Right, so continuing on with the wall, though, now that the Night King's army is through the wall, where do you think he'll go first? What are his targets? Because some people think he's going to go to Winterfell, some people think he's going to go to the God's Eye, where the pack was made, and some people think he's going to go to Dragonstone. Those are the three ones that I hear people talk about.
If he's smart, then probably going to Dragonstone would be the best. You take Dragonstone, then you basically eliminate the ability for your opponents to get the one thing that's gonna stop them, dragon life, right?
True.
If you take that, what else are they gonna do? They have dragons. I mean, that's always gonna be a threat. But like, once you beat the dragons,
The problem
one
with
the round's
Dragonstone,
lost.
though, is it's the furthest away from all the other points, I believe. So he would allow his enemies to set up first.
Yeah. Also, how would they get down there?
I think just walk.
Well, how are they gonna get through all of the armies of Westeros?
Yeah, they
also?
gotta like snake at the very edge of Westeros to get to Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Like,
They would have to basically just tippy toe at the eastern coast of Westeros.
Well, seeing as they went underwater to retrieve the dead dragon, I feel like they're gonna do the same and just travel underwater all the
Yeah,
way to Dragonstone.
I think it's BS that they say that the whites can't swim. I think
Yeah,
they can
I know.
100% swim. It's just that
or
he didn't show it.
I at least think they're gonna do that thing from Pirates of the Caribbean where they're walking on
Walking
the
the very
seafloor
bottom.
at least,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
because they
too.
can't drown. So there's no reason for them not to try.
Yeah. So I don't understand why they would think that they can't swim. I mean, they can't, but there's other ways to get across water.
Oh
Especially
my
if you
God.
don't have to breathe.
What if they make white sharks?
That,
my
that would be so
And
hype.
whales.
That would be so hype. I'm actually on the Night King. I'm on his train. If he makes white sharks, I'm down.
I actually
Screw
just looked
humanity.
At the,
Yeah, that's so busted. He could just turn all like the coolest animals, make them his. That would be so cool to watch.
oh my god, he had a White Walker bear. That was so awesome.
That was pretty dope.
In the books, actually, their mounts are giant spiders. I'm disappointed we didn't see any spiders.
Too
It
much
wasn't in their
CGI.
budget, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't in their budget.
Unfortunate.
I also just realized that Dragonstone is actually super south. I thought it was in north for some reason.
Yeah.
So ignore what I said about Dragonstone being the first thing they're gonna invade.
I think they're just gonna sweep all of Westeros. Just go from top to bottom.
So, you think Winterfell first?
Probably.
Or at least one of the first?
Yeah.
Um,
Hit all the northern villages and then hit Winterfell and then keep going down.
I mean, they could just overwhelm them too. Like they have so many things, they could just kind of Zerg rush everywhere.
And each
Like-
victory, they get more soldiers.
Yeah, every victory is like a huge win because it's like +2, and there's not even +1, it's +2. You know?
Well, then again, I think actually I didn't think of this before, but now that I remember, it's I think Bran be able to warn all of Winterfell that they're coming because again he's like the third eye raven, so he could definitely send out his crows and scout out the area and just be able to tell
Yeah,
them in
but-
time.
The issue is no one really believes him except his family. Because like they showed the Citadel people, they didn't believe a word that he said.
That's true, but during Baelish's trial or surprise trial, he said that one statement and everyone was just on his
I
train.
think that was a little different because Sansa and Arya were there, and especially Sansa, the Knights of the Vale believe in Sansa. Sansa is worth a lot to them, and they trust her a lot.
Okay.
All right, so moving on a little bit, what did you guys think of the CGI this season between the whites, dragons, the polar bears? How do you think it fared, even compared to movies?
It was pretty lit, honestly. Like, I personally enjoyed the crap out of all the CGI. Seeing the dragons up close, seeing them breathe, seeing their scales, seeing them light people up. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Is it worth it being, I guess, 7 episodes? I don't know if I agree with that. I still enjoyed it, though.
I really liked it because compared to like other TV shows that that use CGI, they did a really good job for Game of Thrones, and I kudos to them because it made me feel like I was actually watching a movie, Avengers or Avatar with the blue people Avatar, not the.
I thought you were going to say Avengers 2.
But
What
yeah,
do you think, JP, of the CGI this season?
I mean, the CGI was great. Dragons looked really nice. The Night King's face looked a little different, but again, I didn't really mind too much. I just noticed a little bit. Otherwise, I enjoyed it. I feel like the visual effects people behind Game of Thrones do a really good job of doing a little bit of practical along with the CGI. So the stuff looks a little bit more realistic because it has a little bit of the realistic effects.
Yeah, especially the fire.
Yeah.
There's also another bit of CGI too, where they duplicate people to make armies look bigger. Was that distracting for you guys? Because in earlier seasons, you could clearly see people being duplicated. But in this season, I couldn't really tell because a lot of times when they did it, it was from afar.
Yeah, it was from afar. Where to show like the actual people, they do a close-up shot, so you only saw a little amount of people.
when they duplicated people, it just reminded me of how the Lord of the Rings trilogy did the same.
Yeah, no, they actually used the same software, I'm pretty sure.
I was okay with it because they did a really good job on it for Game of Thrones, and the same applied for Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so just one last thing before we move on to predictions. Theon, what do you guys think he's going to do next season? I guess this is a prediction too, because Theon's arc has been about his identity crisis, but I think this season we finally got a definitive Theon where it was almost religious. He got his ass beat and then he got baptized almost, so he's now a new person. He's finally
That scene was hilarious because like
grew some balls.
yeah,
No,
it's like he got kneed in the balls and that was like his power up, and then he started winning the fight after that. He's like, I don't have any, haha.
Okay, but I thought that would still hurt. Even if you have no balls, that would still hurt.
I would imagine it would hurt like hell.
I would not be smiling.
Seeing as how he underwent all Ramsay's bullshit
Went through hell.
tortures, yeah, he went through a lot. All the pain he feels is numbed down to like
That's
zero. Like,
Even though I give that one scene a little flack for him smiling, I actually really liked it. Just because when he got kicked in the balls and he smiled, to me that was almost him accepting himself. He knows that he doesn't have balls and he's just smiling at the fact that he doesn't, but as a result he uses it to his advantage. And now, after the victory, he's a new person, hopefully this time, for real. He's going out to get Yara, and I'm okay if he dies next season, honestly. No, I think...
He totally died because he redeemed himself.
Yeah, because he's already redeemed himself, and I think that it would close out his arc nicely. Even if him and his sister die, at least, hopefully, his sister would see him be Theon Greyjoy again.
I see it, I get it.
I think he actually falls under like their whole phrase, like "What is dead may never die." Like, he's already dead, dude. Like all the shit he went through.
Dead inside.
Yeah,
so
he's
is
dead
he more
inside.
dead inside than Viserion?
Probably
Hell yeah.
the Night King, dude. Like, he's so dead. Like,
Yeah, like,
Night King could not have survived what he went through.
no one could survive what he went through.
So, just a few more things. Let's go with Clegane Bowl. Happening, yes, no, Mamadou?
It could, but like, I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen because it'd be like, even the scale of things is almost, I would say, pointless. You know?
Yeah, I'm
But
also
I
in
could see
that
it
boat.
happening that way.
I'm on the boat that think that Clegane Bowl doesn't need to happen. It's more stuff that they added on.
I'm like 90% sure it's gonna happen just because of the fan service.
Yeah, no, you're right.
There was that scene where he's talking to the mountain. He's like, "You know who's coming for you. You've always known who's coming for you."
Oh, got you for 3 minutes!
Randy, is it
Randy Savage! Randy
Yeah.
Savage!
The Macho Man!
That was such a Randy Savage moment.
Yeah, dude, it was.
What if the Hound is Azor Ahai?
Ooh.
Possible? No?
I mean, I'm not gonna rule it out. right now so many people could fit the bill for Azor Ahai. Let's go on to predictions now. Let's start closing this out. What are your predictions for season 8?
Well, Daenerys and Jon Snow are definitely gonna win, and that they beat the shit out of Cersei. That's it. That's all I want to happen. Actually, another prediction that I have is Arya going down to visit Miss Cersei and teach her some manners
You think Arya's gonna be the one to kill Cersei, not Jaime?
I think so. Everyone's gonna be so occupied with what's happening in the north, and Arya is just an assassin.
Yeah,
She's
Arya's
not gonna-
off in her side quest while everyone's doing the main mission.
I feel like the Starks are just gonna be like secretly devising a plan against Cersei as all of this is going on. And well, they're definitely gonna keep Jon out of it. But between Sansa and Arya, I feel like they both want some payback against Cersei.
I actually kind of have to agree a little bit with Josh. Let me go back a little bit. Firstly, I think the White Walkers are probably gonna crush them for the first couple episodes. They have very little time, and they'll probably come back because it is season 8. I really think they're gonna win just because of how most shows go, but there is a chance they might just lose. Like that'd be kind of crazy to even think about. Like they lose or they have to all run into Essos. That'd be kind of crazy. Don't expect it to happen. They're probably gonna win. But they're going to get their asses handed to them for a good amount at the beginning of the season is what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Right.
Daenerys is going to have a kid. It's going to happen.
Will Daenerys' kid fight Cersei's kid?
I mean, if Cersei even has a kid or even lives long enough to give birth to a kid, assuming she's not lying. But
what do you think will happen once Bran tells Jon about who he really is?
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Bran.
It's going to be weird. Because technically, like, for dinner, she's like, my family kind of did this anyway, so, like, whatever. But the biggest issue is that I think the people of Westeros will be like, I don't know if I'll trust you as a queen now, because, one, you brought these savages here. Well, actually, let me step back. They won't give a damn because she has dragons and a strong army to fight the White Walkers. So they're all going to follow behind her. They'll probably not worry about it. It would probably make things awkward between them, but, like, considering how they're fighting for the existence of humanity, they'll probably put it to the side and just try to work around it, even though it'll be kind of awkward.
Well, I feel like the White Walkers are gonna take Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're gonna keep pushing the resistance further and further south, and then Cersei's gonna spring her trap or something, but it's gonna backfire on Cersei. Bran gave Arya the Valyrian Steel dagger, so she has to do something with the White Walkers. Like
I think she's gonna kill the Night King.
But then also, like, her other skill set is stealing faces, so I want her to do something political, like steal someone's face and backstab Cersei or some shit. I just don't know how it's gonna implement itself.
Oh, that could work if she steals Jaime's face. No, I don't think she's gonna kill Jaime though.
She might after hearing what he did to Bran.
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh, maybe she does, and then she strangles Cersei.
The rest of the human race are just standing there and, bitch, we're all dying, and this is what you're doing?
That's actually exactly what I see. Like, I feel like she's gonna make a play and be like, this is cool, but it's like, now is not the time to do that play.
Yeah, you just killed our best general.
Like, why?
Can Arya, like, steal the face of an undead?
That's what I was actually asking.
Well, I feel like
they
don't
really have
instantly
faces.
that she's not an undead.
Yeah.
Well, like, would she be able to steal a face of, like, a white, one of the Captain Whites or whatever?
They turn to dust when they're killed.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think so, because they're basically the embodiment of ice.
That'd be pretty cool, though.
The end scene is the Night King winning, and then the camera pans slowly into the Night King's face, and then Arya removes her mask.
Got him!
Surprise!
And then Reigns of Castamere plays for no reason. The end. My predictions for season 8 are that it'll be a Lord of the Rings-esque ending, where obviously good triumphs against evil. But so what I think will happen is that the Night King will take Winterfell, and that Daenerys will suffer many losses. But as a result, that pushes her all the way to King's Landing. And when they get pushed back to King's Landing, that's where the Golden Company is going to be. And when the two armies face each other, the Golden Company won't believe them at all until they see the Army of the Dead. And when they see the Army of the Dead, then the Golden Company and Daenerys' army, that's when they start teaming up. The Golden Company, they have battle elephants. I don't know. Yeah, it's basically Lord of the Rings.
What if the Night King does what he did to Viserys? Like, he just throws...
They got undead elephants.
Well, I hope he has a ton of spears.
Also, I predict that Daenerys is going to lose both of her dragons, and then she's going to find out that she's pregnant after they both die. That's what
I
feel like should
actually
happen.
predict that Daenerys will die. Either Daenerys or Daenerys and Jon will die. Because I think this baby will be an orphan. I want both of them to die in the end. Because I think it's more tragic and cooler for the story. That this baby has to be raised by other people. And I think that Tyrion might raise this baby.
Aw, that'd be adorable.
Yeah, I think it would be a pretty cool ending.
Tyrion actually takes the throne. He's like the only one who's actually alive and fit to be a king.
Well, because remember, he didn't want to take the throne, so this would be the case where he's not actually taking the throne, but he's standing in for the actual king or queen, which is still a kid.
I also have a prediction that you guys say that the Clegane brothers are gonna probably duke it out, or they'll just have to work with each other. Which I believe that they are gonna work with each other, but I feel like the Mountain would, like, when they become overwhelmed and it's just him and his brother, I feel like he's just gonna be like, "Run, Clegane, run! I'll hold them back. Go, live."
Wait, you said run, Clegane,
Yeah,
run?
what is happening right now? I zoned out for 2 seconds and I hear
So,
the
so Josh thinks that the Mountain and the Hound are going to like fight with each other. No, they fight like be on the same side against the White Walkers, and the Mountain's gonna sacrifice himself for the Hound.
I think the Mountain's too far gone. He
Yeah,
doesn't
me
even
too.
talk
I
anymore.
thought they were just gonna murk each other.
I don't even think he knows
No
who he
words.
is.
Eye contact and it's on.
Yep.
Maybe he knows who he is, but he's just trapped. And the
So
only way he can get out is his brother.
once he's freed by his brother, do you think the warmth of his love is enough to melt the White Walkers?
They embrace, and it's like a huge wave of energy.
Brother!
That's the power of love! Get out of here.
I mean, so the strongest force in the universe is love. So it's possible.
What?
And with that, we'll be closing out our podcast. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around for our pod. This has been a Snorkeling Beluga Game of Thrones Season 7 review. Boom.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good closeout.